Liability insurance. Oh, hello. I've had bad luck with both of my wives. First one left me and the second one didn't. That's very true. Look, everyone makes mistakes. That's what liability insurance is about. You know, no one except my wife's perfect. But things happen. Okay? But you've all got public liability insurance, so you're all pretty satisfied that whatever you do, you've got a public liability policy. So when you get the letter in the mail saying you owe me $200,000, you can run off down to your insurance broker, your insurance company, and say, look, fix this up for me. Sorry. Public liability insurance only covers essentially property damage. There has to be third-party property. Okay. It includes the cost of legal fees of defending claims, so that's all very helpful. And most policies cover the consequences of defective workmanship. Okay, they don't cover the cost of putting the defective workmanship right. That's pretty standard right throughout the insurance industry in New Zealand. Now, good news, again, I'm preaching to certified builders particularly here. We've put together a public liability policy as a result of my 40 plus years in this business that actually covers you much more widely than the normal policies that are put out by State or NZI or Vero or whoever do. Okay, we can cover you for faulty workmanship. Now, deleting the exclusion of the building you're working upon, that's a bit of an ugly kind of wording. In my youth, some years ago, if a builder was putting up jib board and the jib clout pierced the plastic of the electric wiring and the house burnt down, that was always deemed to be a public liability claim. Okay, that probably the house was insured, probably the insurer paid it, and probably they'd have a go at the builder for having done that because there's some degree of negligence. Okay, you'd think. Well, insurers didn't like that, paying too many of those claims, so they stuck a clause in the middle of the policy that said, basically, you're not covered for anything you're working on. Okay, we'll cover the house next door that might burn down as well, but we ain't covering you for the actual house. So potentially you could have a letter in the mail from NZI saying, we paid this claim, we found this was the cause, happened 7 years ago, you know, where's our $400,000 please? You'd run off and say, oh shit, I've got public liability insurance. You'd get a letter from your public liability insurer saying, sorry, pay yourself. Okay. So our cover has actually gone backwards, and I'm proud to say our policy wording has gone backwards because we cover that event. And in fact, just had one week before last where the nail had gone through a water pipe, had taken, I think, 3 years to rust through, and then flooded the house. Okay, that would not normally be a claim. It is under our public liability policy word. Professional advice that you give, excluded under a normal public liability policy, included in ours. And we pay defence costs of, if you're an LBP and somebody complains, you have to trip off to Wellington to defend your licence so that you can actually continue to build. We'll cover that as well. Okay, so the guts, and please remember this, a public liability policy essentially only covers damage to property. It covers some injury, covers some stress issues, but because we've got ACC, you know, we haven't got the problem they've got in Australia and elsewhere in the world. But it's essentially damage to property. But financial loss isn't covered. There is no damage to property. So if you get sued for financial loss, don't bet on your public liability insurance at all.